My name is Enzo Costa, and for years I tried to outrun my brother's shadow. Raphael was the soldier, the dutiful one, the one who gave his life for God and church. That was the story they fed the world, the lie wrapped in incense and marble. I left the uniform behind long before he did. I joined another world, black ops, covert assignments, the places governments deny even exist. Out there, I learned that orders are just another kind of chain. But no training, no war, no clandestine mission prepared me for the dreams. They began on the same night every year, the anniversary of Raphael's death. I never knew the details, only that his body was never returned, his grave marked with an empty coffin. But in my sleep, I saw him, his face pale, eyes burning with light, his voice pulled from some hollow place beyond. "Enzo," he whispered, "find Sophia, end the cycle." At first, I thought it was guilt, my subconscious dragging me into grief I never faced. But the dreams didn't stop. They came night after night, sharper, louder, until I woke with his voice echoing in my skull. End the cycle. I started searching. The Vatican files were sealed, but I had my ways. Old contacts, favors owed. I learned whispers. A woman survived. A researcher named Sophia, tied to the mission my brother led. After that night, she vanished. No trace. Some said she fled Rome. Others whispered she was dead. But the dreams wouldn't let me stop. Each time, Raphael's voice grew more urgent. Each time, the same command. Find her. So I followed the trail. Weeks turned into months, one lead after another. At last, I tracked her to a mountain village, a forgotten place where even maps blur into empty space. That night, I climbed through mist and pine, up the switchbacks of a road more suited to goats than cars. The moon carved silver lines across the cliffs. My instincts hummed, the same itch I felt before ambushes, before bullets cut through silence. I wasn't the only one hunting. By the time I reached the cabin, the fight had already begun. Shadows circled the small wooden house, men in black moving like wolves. Suppressors hissed. Muzzle flashes lit the dark. Someone inside was firing back, desperate. Sophia. I moved without thought. Old habits, drilled reflexes, knife in the dark, a throat cut clean. Sidearm barking, two men dropped before they knew where I was. One turned, too slow. My elbow shattered his jaw. My boot drove him into the dirt. By the time I crashed through the door, 3 more were already down. Sophia stood in the corner, rifle shaking in her hands, face gaunt but eyes blazing. She looked at me as if I were another ghost come to finish her. "Who the hell are you?" she demanded, finger tight on the trigger. "Not your enemy," I said. My voice was steady, but I kept my hands raised. "You don't know me, but you know my brother. Raphael Costa." Her face drained of color. The rifle sagged an inch. "Raphael is dead." "I know," I said, "but he sent me anyway." The words hung heavy between us. Outside, the night was quiet again. The bodies of Severin's assassins littered the ground. She stared at me, searching for deceit. Why now? Why come here? I hesitated, then told her the truth. Because I see him, every night. He speaks to me. He says your name. He says the seal is breaking, that the cycle will start again. Sophia's lips parted. Her eyes glistened. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "I see him too." The fire in the hearth sputtered, shadows twisting along the walls. For a moment, I swore I heard another voice layered over the crackling wood. My brother's voice. End the cycle. Sophia lowered her rifle, her breath unsteady. "Then it's true. He wants us to finish what he couldn't." I nodded, though my chest felt like stone. I had buried faith years ago, but now faith had dug me back up. The night outside was silent. But the silence carried weight. Severin had found her once. He would find her again. And if my brother's dreams were right, the next time, He wouldn't just send men with guns. He would bring the end of the world with him. The cabin smelled of gunpowder and pine. Sophia sat across from me, her rifle laid on the table between us. She hadn't taken her finger far from the trigger, but at least it wasn't pointed at my chest anymore. The firelight carved deep lines into her face. She was younger than I expected, maybe mid-30s, but fear and exile had aged her. Her eyes carried the weight of secrets too heavy for one lifetime. She broke the silence first. You shouldn't have come here. If they tracked me, they'll track you. Severin doesn't let witnesses breathe. I've met men like him, I said. They always underestimate who lives long enough to fight back. Her mouth twitched, something between a bitter smile and disbelief. You think this is just a manhunt? You don't know what you're standing in. Then tell me, I said. Tell me why my brother died. Her eyes flickered to the door as if expecting more shadows to break it down. Then she leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that sounded like confession. I was there the night he fell, she said. Not in the chamber when it happened, but close enough to hear the screams. The Vatican buried the truth. They said your brother secured the spear and died in the collapse. That's what they told the world. But that was never the truth. The fire popped. I leaned forward, every muscle wired tight. Then what is the truth? She hesitated, eyes glistening. Raphael wasn't just guarding a relic. He was holding back something older, darker, a fallen seraph chained by the spear itself. Severin sent us down there not to retrieve it, but to feed it. Sacrifice after sacrifice, century after century. And when Raphael realized, he did what none of the others could. He chose to chain himself to it. He bled willingly, not for Vatican, not for Azazel, but for us. The words hit like a blade sliding between ribs. My throat tightened. I had always suspected the church's story was neat, too clean. But hearing it spoken aloud made it real. She lowered her gaze. I saw the chamber burn with light. I heard his voice one last time. Then silence. Severin sealed the place and told the cardinals it was handled. Anyone who asked questions disappeared. I ran that night. I've been running ever since. My jaw clenched. Severin hunts you to keep the lie intact. She nodded. And because I know the seal is weakening, I've seen it in dreams. I hear your brother's voice in every prayer, every night. He says the cycle repeats, and this time, Severin doesn't plan to reinforce the chains. He plans to break them. The air felt heavier, as if the walls themselves were listening. I sat back, processing. So he'll let Azazel out? Her gaze locked onto mine, sharp as glass. Not let. Use. He believes if he drinks the blood of a fallen angel, he'll become immortal. Azazel is his ladder to godhood. I exhaled slowly. Men like Severin always believed power was their birthright, but immortality, that wasn't ambition. That was madness. Sophia reached for her rifle, checking the chamber with shaking hands. I've tried to stay hidden, hoping the seal would last longer, that someone else could carry this burden. But your brother, he won't let me ignore it anymore. If he's sending dreams to you too, then we don't have a choice. I studied her. She was brittle, half-starved, haunted, and yet behind all of it, a core of iron glowed. The kind that refuses to break even when the world demands it. You're saying we stop, Severin, I said. She gave a hollow laugh. Do you know what you're agreeing to? We're two broken souls against the full weight of Vatican. Soldiers, archives, hunters, every secret order they've kept buried for centuries. If we move against him, we won't just be fugitives. We'll be dead men walking. I leaned closer, my voice steady. I've been dead on paper for years. I worked in shadows long before this. Men in suits, governments, lies. I know that game. But if my brother bled himself into the stone to keep this world standing, then I'll be damned before I let Severin tear it all down. Her eyes searched mine for a long moment, Finally, she nodded. A fragile alliance, born from desperation. Thunder rolled across the mountains outside. The storm was coming. Sophia whispered, almost to herself, "Then we end the cycle, one way or another." For the first time in years, I felt something unfamiliar. Not faith, not hope, something harder, purpose. And in the silence that followed, I swore I heard him again. Raphael's voice clear as fire in the dark. Together. We stayed in the cabin that night, too drained to move, too hunted to risk the roads. The bodies of Severin's assassins lay in the woods, claimed by the storm. I barred the door, checked my sidearm twice, then finally let exhaustion pull me down. Sleep was not rest. The dream came quickly, like falling into a pit I'd walked past too many times. I stood in the same catacombs where my brother died. The walls bled light from their cracks, chains snapping one after another. In the center stood Raphael, not flesh, not bone, light woven into the shape of a man, burning and breaking at once. His eyes were hollow, yet they burned with recognition. "Enzo," he said, voice trembling like it came from 1,000 miles away. "The seal is breaking." My mouth moved, but no sound came out. All I could do was listen as the stone around him screamed, as wings clawed at the dark. "You must finish it," he said, "or the world ends." I woke with a gasp, my shirt soaked in sweat. The fire in the hearth had burned low, rain hammered the roof, and for a moment I thought the storm was still part of the dream. Across the room, Sophia sat upright, her face pale, her eyes wide. She had woken the same instant I had. "You saw him too," I said. She nodded slowly, clutching the edge of the blanket like it might anchor her. He said, "The seal is breaking." The words left her lips in the same cadence my brother had spoken them. We hadn't compared details, but the message was exact, like two voices reading the same script. I crossed the room and sat opposite her. "This isn't coincidence. Whatever link he forged with that spear, it reaches beyond death." Sophia swallowed hard, her throat trembling. "I've had visions before, but never like this. Never so clear. It felt like he was in the room." "He was," I said. My voice was low, steady. "He's part of the seal now. He is the chains. That's why we hear him." She covered her face with her hands, shoulders shaking. For the first time since I'd met her, she looked small. "I can't do this again. I ran for a reason. I can't go back down there." I let her words sit in the silence. The rain outside filled the space, each drop a drumbeat on the roof. Finally, I said, "Neither can I. But it doesn't matter, because if we don't, Severin wins, and then there won't be a world to hide in." Her hands dropped, her eyes glistened, but there was steel beneath. "You talk like your brother," I gave a grim smile. "Maybe he made sure of that." She looked away, staring into the dying fire. "The seal is breaking," she whispered again, almost to herself. The words echoed in the room like a litany. I could still hear Raphael's voice layered over hers. A voice that was not a dream, not imagination, but a tether pulled taut between life and death. I thought of the years I'd spent in shadows, taking orders I didn't believe in, trading pieces of my soul for missions that meant nothing. For the first time, I understood purpose, not because the Vatican demanded it, not because Severin lied about it, because my brother bled for it. I stood, loading a fresh magazine into my pistol. Tomorrow we move. We find where Severin plans to act, and we end it. Sophia rose too, steadying herself. She wiped her eyes and slung the rifle over her shoulder. "If the seal is breaking, we don't have time." I nodded. "Then we make time." The fire hissed, collapsing into embers. The storm raged on. But beneath the noise I could still hear him, Raphael's voice, faint but clear, threading through the dark. Together. The Vatican has always hidden its filth behind gold and silk. Severin knew that better than anyone. He was the architect of the lie. In the upper halls of St. Peter's, incense burned, choirs sang, tourists shuffled in awe of marble domes. Below, far from the light, Severin walked the corridors where only shadows prayed. His robes whispered against the stones, crimson brushing black. On the table before him lay relics sealed for centuries, not chalices, not crosses, but weapons. Fragments of iron hammered in the age of Constantine, shards of obsidian once used in blood rites, and at the center, a dagger shaped from bone, etched with symbols that no scripture admitted existed. Severin touched the blade with reverence. "The blood of a seraph," he murmured, "one drop and eternity bends." He had studied every forbidden text, every archive redacted from history. The records all agreed. Azazel's blood was not just corruption, it was power, the kind that could lift a man beyond heaven and hell alike. Raphael's sacrifice had delayed that truth, but nothing sealed forever. Severin looked into the mirror across the chamber. His face was lined, eyes sunken, age crawling over him like rot. He despised it. A prince of the church bound by flesh, doomed to crumble into dust like the peasants he ruled. Unacceptable. Immortality was not blasphemy. It was justice. God abandoned his throne long ago. If heaven would not descend, then man must rise. He lifted a chalice, golden and studded with rubies. It had once held consecrated wine. Soon it would hold something far older. "Your blood for mine," he whispered to the empty air. "Your fall for my ascent." Behind him, a door opened. A captain of the Swiss Guard stepped in, his face pale beneath the helm. "Your Eminence, the teams you requested are prepared. They will accompany you when the seal is approached." Severin turned, eyes gleaming. "Good, but make no mistake. They are not my army. They are fodder. They will bleed before I do." The captain swallowed, bowed, and withdrew. He would not speak of this again. None of them ever did. Severin traced the edge of the dagger once more. He remembered the last seal breaking years ago. He had watched from afar as Raphael bled himself into the stone, becoming another link in the eternal chain. The fool thought sacrifice noble. But sacrifice was a leash, and Severin had no intention of wearing it. He extinguished the lamp. The chamber sank into shadow, but he did not fear it. Shadows were his cathedral, lies his gospel. As he walked back into the vaulted corridors of the Vatican, priests bowed, nuns crossed themselves, tourists snapped photographs of saints carved in marble. None of them knew what stalked beneath their feet. None of them knew their salvation was chained to a monster. Severin smiled, thin and cruel. "Soon," he whispered, "the monster will be mine." And for the first time in centuries, even the walls seemed to shiver. We left the mountain the next morning. The cabin still smelled of smoke and blood, but Sophia locked the door as though she might return. I knew she wouldn't. Some places don't forgive. The road down was broken stone and silence. She rode behind me on the bike we scavenged from one of Severin's dead men. Her eyes never left the horizon, but I could feel the weight in them, the same weight in mine. Rome was calling us back. We stayed low, slipping through villages, trading false names for silence. At night, we hid in ruined monasteries and abandoned farmhouses. But sleep was never rest. The dreams grew louder. Every night I saw Raphael. His body was gone, but his voice had become the sound of chains straining. "The seal is breaking," he whispered. "Severin moves faster than you think." And then, always, I would see it, the spear burning red, blood dripping from its point, and Azazel's wings pressing against the stone. I woke with my hands trembling, sweat slick on my chest. Across the room, Sophia would already be awake, staring at the ceiling, lips moving in silent prayer. Sometimes tears streaked her cheeks. Sometimes she would look at me and simply say, "You saw it too." Yes. Always yes. In Rome, we moved like ghosts. The Vatican is a fortress disguised as a shrine, and Severin had filled it with eyes. We never stayed in one place long. Sophia brought me to the one ally she still trusted, an archivist named Giulio, who had once smuggled her food when she fled the Vatican. His hair was white now, his hands shaking, but his memory was sharp. "The catacombs beneath St. Peter's," Giulio whispered, spreading faded maps across the table. "Severin has requisitioned entire wings sealed from the public. He claims it is for restoration. That is the lie, the truth he is gathering there." "Gathering what?" I asked. Giulio's eyes darkened. "Men, weapons, relics." I heard one whisper that chilled me. "Chalices prepared not for wine, but for blood." Sophia shuddered. "It's true. He wants Azazel's blood." Giulio's hands shook harder. "If he drinks it, he will not just live forever. He will become something the world has never endured. Vatican will not control him. No one will." We left him that night, knowing he would not live long. Once Severin learned he had spoken, the city grew restless. Sirens screamed longer. Shadows in alleys lingered too close. Even the sky seemed wrong. Thunder rolling without storms, the moon a shade too red. Sophia stopped once in the street, staring at the basilica rising above us like a beast in marble. "Do you feel it?" she whispered. "Yes," I said. My skin crawled, like the whole city's holding its breath. She closed her eyes. "No, like it's already screaming." That night the dream was different. Raphael stood closer, his face clearer, but torn with strain. Chains wrapped his arms, his chest, his throat. Behind him, Azazel's wings spread wide, feathers breaking into ash. "You're too slow," my brother said. His voice shook the ground. "He's at the gate." "Then tell me how to stop him," I begged. His eyes burned into mine. "With blood, always blood, but this time, not just mine, yours." I woke with a gasp, the taste of iron in my mouth. Sophia sat across from me, clutching her rosary so hard her knuckles bled. She didn't look up when she whispered, "He said the same to me." "Yours." For the first time, the silence between us wasn't alliance, it was dread. Severin was moving faster than we thought. In the Vatican, beneath the weight of centuries, Severin stood in a chamber lined with torches. His soldiers knelt, rows of armored men sworn to his cause, their rifles gleaming in the firelight. At the center, Severin raised the bone dagger, its blade dark with promise. "The time has come," he declared. "The chains are breaking. The world above sleeps in ignorance, but we will awaken it. Through me, through blood, through eternity." The soldiers bowed their heads, and the torches flared, as if shadows themselves bent to him. The storm was here. Sophia and I pressed closer to the Vatican walls, the air heavy, the bells tolling too often, too loud. My brother's voice haunted every step. "The seal is breaking." This time, it wasn't a warning, it was a countdown. The Vatican looks different at night. The tourists vanish, the laughter dies, and the marble turns to bone. The city sleeps, but the church does not. Its secrets move louder in the dark. Sophia and I slipped through gates that should have been guarded, but weren't. Too many men had been pulled underground, summoned for Severin's purpose. That made our path easier, but also told me we were late. The air grew colder the deeper we went. The staircases narrowed, walls sweating with age. Sophia carried her rifle slung across her back, one hand clutching a rosary like it was the last line of defense. I kept my sidearm ready, though I knew bullets wouldn't matter for what we were walking into. We passed chambers sealed centuries ago, ossuaries stacked with bones, chapels where the candles still burned though no priest had entered for decades, and then the place I recognized from dreams, the chamber where Raphael died. Even empty, it hummed. The stone floor glowed faintly with veins of red, like cracks in cooling lava. Chains of light stretched across the walls, dim and brittle, as if they'd been gnawed from the inside. Sophia froze. "I haven't been here since that night." Her voice cracked. I stepped closer, feeling the weight press on my chest. It wasn't just memory, it was presence. My brother was still here, woven into every chain. I knelt, brushing my hand across the cold stone. For a heartbeat, warmth pulsed under my palm. And I heard him. Enzo, just my name, fainter than before, but real. Sophia sank to her knees beside me. "He's still bound," I nodded. "And Severin knows it." We searched the chamber. In a niche near the altar, hidden beneath broken frescoes, Sophia pulled free a box wrapped in faded cloth. Inside lay a relic, a small crucifix, iron blackened with age, its edges etched with the same script as the chains. "This was used before," she whispered. "I don't know by who or when, but it can wound the fallen. It's the only reason I kept breathing last time." I studied it, the metal cold even through the cloth. A weapon, yes, but not meant for victory. Tools like this only ever bought time. Sophia met my eyes. "Do you believe in God, Enzo?" The question landed heavier than any bullet. "No," I said, "but I believe in my brother, and that's enough." She nodded, clutching the crucifix. "Then we stand. Even if it kills us, we weren't alone." Voices echoed from the tunnels beyond. Boots, orders barked in Latin. Floodlights flared, casting long shadows down the corridor. Severin soldiers, an entire detachment, moving toward us. Sophia's face tightened. Too many. I counted at least 20, maybe more. All armed, armored, disciplined. "We can't fight them all," I said. "Not head on." She gripped her rifle tighter. "Then we don't. We slow them, long enough to reach Severin." I almost laughed at the madness of it. 2 against an army, chasing a man who thought he could drink the blood of angels. But then again, my brother had bled himself into stone for less. "All right," I said, chambering around. "Let's make it cost them." The soldiers' lights grew closer, beams dancing across the walls. The chamber of my brother's death became once more a battlefield. The difference was this time, we walked into it with our eyes open. And somewhere, in the cracks of the stone, I swore I heard him again. Together. The lights came first. White beams lanced across the tunnel walls, cutting through centuries of dust. Then the boots, steady and synchronized, a drumbeat of discipline. Sophia pressed her back to the stone beside me, clutching the crucifix relic like it was both weapon and prayer. Her breath shook, but her hands didn't. I admired that. "Remember," I whispered, "we're not here to win, just to slow them down." Her eyes flicked to mine, a grim smile. Story of my life. The first soldier rounded the corner. His armor gleamed under the floodlight, rifle up, face hidden behind a visor etched with Vatican insignia. He wasn't here to protect the church. He was here to erase us. I moved first, knife in the throat before his finger could touch the trigger. He dropped soundlessly, and then the storm broke. Gunfire roared down the corridor. Muzzle flashes lit the walls, shadows leaping like demons. Sophia dove to cover and fired back, her rounds sparking against helmets, dropping 1, 2. I rolled behind a broken pillar, returning fire with precision. Years of covert ops boiled down to instinct: aim, squeeze, move. But there were too many. For every one we cut down, 3 more advanced. Their formation was brutal, efficient, a tide of iron pressing us back toward the chamber. Stone chipped and splintered around us. The crucifix relic glowed faintly in Sophia's grip every time a bullet ricocheted near, as though it knew this fight wasn't against flesh. "Enzo," she shouted, "we can't hold." "I know," I barked back, sliding a fresh mag home. My eyes darted past the line of soldiers toward the chamber beyond, and there, in the flickering glow, I saw him. Severin. He stood at the far end, robes flowing crimson in the torchlight, bone dagger in hand. His soldiers parted around him, none daring to touch him. He moved with calm certainty, like a priest walking to the altar. He wasn't watching his men die. He was watching the seal. The chains across the walls trembled. Light pulsed in the cracks, bleeding brighter with each step he took. "Keep firing!" I yelled, unloading into the advancing line. But Severin didn't flinch. He raised the dagger high, his voice echoing down the catacomb in a chant that twisted Latin into something older, darker. Sophia's face went pale. "He's starting the rite." The soldiers pressed harder, buying him time with their blood. They weren't warriors anymore. They were sacrifices. I hurled a flashbang, light and sound ripping the corridor. For a moment, the line faltered. Sophia surged forward, firing through the haze, dropping 2 more before ducking back. But Severin only smiled, lifting the chalice in his other hand. Its rubies caught the torchlight, waiting for what was to come. "Enzo!" Sophia shouted over the ringing in our ears. "If he reaches the seal—" "I know." The walls groaned as if alive. Dust rained from the ceiling. The cracks in the stone bled brighter, threads of fire crawling toward the floor. And behind it, wings shifted. I felt them more than saw them, the weight of Azazel pressing against the chains. Severin's chant rose, a rhythm that made my stomach lurch. It wasn't prayer. It was command. I dropped another soldier, my knife slick, my pistol empty. Sophia reloaded, hands bloody, teeth clenched. We were slowing them, yes, but not enough, not nearly enough. Then Severin's voice cut through the chaos, sharp as steel. "Blood renews, blood betrays. Tonight the covenant ends." The chains screamed, a sound like iron tearing through flesh. Azazel stirred. And in that moment, I knew we weren't just fighting soldiers. We were fighting time itself. Gunfire died out, replaced by something worse. The sound of chains snapping, one by one, like bones breaking in the dark. Severin's chant filled the chamber. His voice was calm, steady, but it carried a weight that bent the air itself. The soldiers stopped firing. They knelt, rifles lowered, heads bowed, as though they were hearing mass. Only Sophia and I kept fighting, our shots wasted on armor and faith. Then the wall cracked open. Light exploded across the chamber, blinding and red. The seal split wide, revealing a hollow beyond, a pit that breathed smoke and ash. And from it, wings unfolded. Not feathers, shadows with edges sharper than steel, each plume a scar in the air. Azazel rose. His body was bound in chains of light, but his face, if it could be called that, was carved from fire and ruin. His gaze burned across the kneeling soldiers, and they shuddered as though their souls had been counted and found wanting. "Free me!" the voice boomed, shattering stone. It was not sound, but command. Severin stepped forward, chalice raised. His smile was thin, triumphant. "Yes," he said, "freedom, but not yours." He knelt as though in reverence, and Azazel leaned closer, wings curling around him. Chains groaned, straining to hold. For a heartbeat, it looked like devotion, a cardinal kneeling to a god. Then Severin struck. The bone dagger plunged into Azazel's chest, the symbols on its blade igniting with blinding light. Azazel roared, wings thrashing, the chains pulling tight as if the prison itself recoiled from the betrayal. Blood, if it could be called that, poured from the wound, thick and black, steaming as it touched the air. Severin caught it in the chalice. The liquid hissed, etched with sparks of crimson, alive and writhing. He raised it high. "For eternity," he whispered. Then he drank. The chamber shook. Azazel screamed, not in fury, but in shock. For the first time, the fallen seraph had been deceived, not by chains, not by sacrifice, but by man. His power bled into Severin, and his wings faltered, shrinking, collapsing under the weight of the wound. Sophia gasped, clutching the crucifix relic. "He's not freeing him, he's killing him." I stared in disbelief. "No, he's consuming him." Severin's body convulsed, his skin splitting, veins glowing red. His eyes flared like coals, his teeth sharpening into fangs. The robes of a cardinal burned away, revealing muscle twisted with something inhuman. He stood taller now, his voice layered with two tones, his own and something darker. I am more than angel, more than man. I am eternal. Azazel writhed in chains, his voice a broken roar. Thief! Usurper! Severin only laughed. The church thought me servant. You thought me pawn, but I'm the master now. The soldiers still knelt, trembling, but none dared look up. They were obsolete, their purpose spent. Severin spread his arms, his form shifting grotesque, robes merging with flesh, bones cracking into new shapes. His skin hardened, dark as iron, his veins glowing like molten cracks in stone. He turned his gaze to us. Sophia raised her rifle and emptied it, bullets sparking against his new hide. They ricocheted like pebbles against armor. Severin didn't flinch. He almost pitied her. Faith without power is ash, he said, stepping closer. Let me show you. He waved one hand, and the kneeling soldiers dissolved into dust. Their screams lasted only an instant before silence claimed them. Sophia stumbled back. Horror etched on her face. He killed them all. No, I said, my throat dry. He never needed them. They were kindling. Severin smiled, blood still dripping from his lips. Now the world is mine. Azazel struggled behind him, bound but broken, his roar fading. The fallen angel had been undone, not by chains or God, but by human greed. And for the first time, I understood the truth. The greatest betrayal was never Azazel's fall. It was man's. Severin stood in the glow of his own corruption, towering above the ruin of the chamber. His body was no longer human, his spine arched beneath cracked skin, his fingers lengthened into claws wrapped in molten light. His eyes, two burning pits, settled on me with something between amusement and pity. I had faced men who thought themselves gods. I had killed tyrants who believed their power eternal. But Severin had become the thing he worshipped. Sophia coughed blood. Sprawled against the wall where he had thrown her, she tried to raise the crucifix relic, but her arms trembled too much. Severin didn't even glance at her. She was beneath his notice now. His voice echoed with two tones, one human, one infernal. Enzo Costa, he said, savoring the name, your brother chose the chains, you will choose the grave. I raised my pistol and fired until the slide locked back. The rounds sparked harmlessly against his skin, bouncing like rain on stone. He chuckled. How fragile, how predictable. He advanced slowly, savoring my futility. Each step made the ground quake. I grabbed my knife, lunged low, drove it into his side with all the strength left in me. The blade bent. His flesh didn't break. His hand swatted me aside like I was a child. I hit the stone hard, the air crushed from my lungs. Hopelessness pressed down heavier than the debris around us. No weapon I carried mattered. No training I'd endured prepared me for this. And for a moment, I wanted to quit to let it end. Then I heard it. Not Severin's laughter, not Sophia's ragged breath, a voice, my brother's. Enzo! It came from everywhere, the chains, the stone, the blood seeping from my wounds. It was not a memory, it was him. I pressed my palm to the cracked floor where he had fallen years ago. Heat surged up my arm, racing through my chest. Symbols carved into the stone flared red, then white, burning with life. We are one, Raphael whispered. Stand, pray, believe, Severin sneered, sensing the change. No prayer can save you. But the light spreading beneath me was no prayer from the church. It was my brother, his sacrifice, his chains. Blood dripped from my wounds, soaking into the carved sigils. The floor trembled, veins of light racing outward, weaving across my arms, my chest, my face. My vision blurred, but not from weakness, from fire. I rose. Severin halted for the first time, uncertain. What is this? My voice was not mine alone anymore. It carried another with it, layered, resolute. Your end. The air shook. My brother's presence fused with mine, every scar of his sacrifice becoming part of me. Strength surged through muscles that moments before had failed. The spear that once bound him burned into my veins, though no weapon lay in my hands. Sophia's eyes widened, tears streaking her bloodied face. "Raphael," she whispered. I looked at her, my voice steady. "No. Both of us." Severin roared, the sound splitting stone. "You think two broken souls can stand against eternity?" I stepped forward, the ground lighting beneath my feet. "We're not broken. We are bound." Chains of fire wrapped my arms as though forged from the seal itself. They weren't shackles, they were weapons. Severin charged, claws raised, his form blotting out the light, but I didn't move aside. For the first time, I met him head-on, steel against shadow, mortal against immortal. And this time, I wasn't alone. Severin came at me like a storm-given flesh. His claws slashed stone as if it were parchment, sparks raining with every strike. His voice was thunder, two tones snarling in unison. "You are nothing. You are dust. I am eternity." The chains around my arms blazed brighter with every blow. I parried his strikes with fire that wasn't fire, each impact sending shock waves through the chamber. My brother's presence steadied me, his voice inside my bones. "Hold, Enzo. Every second counts." Severin's strength was monstrous. His blows cracked pillars. His roar made the air itself burn. But for all his power, his strikes grew sloppy, rage blinding him. He wasn't a god, he was hunger wrapped in flesh. I drove forward, fists wrapped in burning chains, landing blows that seared through his corrupted skin. He staggered once, snarling. Then he laughed, blood boiling black down his chin. "You cannot kill me," he spat. "Not with your faith, not with your chains. I carry his blood." Azazel's roar echoed faintly from the pit, bound but dying, as if mocking us both. Sophia stirred against the wall, pale, broken, but not gone. She clutched the iron crucifix relic, dragging herself upright inch by inch. "Enzo!" she screamed, her voice cut through the chaos like a bell. I turned just as Severin lunged. His claw tore across my chest, heat and agony ripping through me. I fell to one knee, chains flickering. He loomed above me, triumphant. "Brother against brother, man against man. It changes nothing. You will kneel." For a heartbeat, I believed him. My vision blurred, blood soaking the floor. Then Sophia moved. She staggered behind him, crucifix clutched with both hands, and with her last breath she drove it deep between his shoulders. The relic flared, screaming with light, embedding into his monstrous flesh. Severin howled, twisting, wings of shadow flailing. He spun and hurled her against the wall. Her body crumpled, silent. But her strike had opened him. The chains around my arms surged, brighter than ever. Raphael's voice roared within me. "Now, Enzo, end it!" I rose with everything I had left. Seizing Severin, I dragged him backward, forcing him onto the cracked stone where my brother had once bled. Symbols carved in the floor ignited, red and gold, pulsing with the rhythm of sacrifice. Severin thrashed, claws raking my arms, but I held on. For the first time, he looked afraid. "No," he bellowed. "I am eternal." "Not anymore," I said. My voice was mine and Raphael's together. I wrenched the crucifix free from his back, raised it high, and with all my strength I drove it through his chest into the stone. The chamber exploded with light. Severin screamed, his form tearing apart, flesh splitting into ash. His blood burned, not black, not red, but white fire, spilling across the sigils. His body convulsed, wings collapsing inward, until nothing remained but dust. And then he was gone. Silence fell. The chains that had bound Azazel glowed once more, reforged by blood not fallen, not angelic, but human. My brother's sacrifice had been renewed, not with him alone, but with me, with Sophia, with all of us. I fell to my knees beside her. Her eyes flickered open, lips trembling. Did we stop it? I took her hand, tears cutting through the soot on my face. Yes, it's over. She smiled faintly, relief softening the lines of pain. Then it was worth it. Her hand tightened once, then went still. I bowed my head. Another chain forged, another friend lost. The chamber grew quiet, only the hum of the seal remaining. Azazel's presence was gone. Severin's hunger, gone. For the first time in centuries, the pit was silent. But inside me, my brother still remained. Together, Raphael whispered. His voice was not strained now. It was steady, proud. I stood, the crucifix relic glowing faintly in my hand. The fight was done, but the burden wasn't. The world above would never know what happened here. They would never sing for Sophia, never curse Severin. That was fine. Some victories are meant to stay buried. I walked out of the catacombs, my chest scarred, my soul heavier. I was not Raphael, and I was not just Enzo anymore. I was both, bound, forged, remade. The eternal wound had closed, and for the first time, the cycle was broken.